What is going on, guys? You're doing another video, and welcome back to another episode of Umineko When They Cry. Now, I know it has been a minute since I've uploaded an episode of this. I'm really sorry. Things have been tough schedule-wise, so I'm trying to, find time to do this series, so bear with me. Thank you for all the support on these past couple episodes. They've been absolutely amazing. And yeah, let's just continue. Last time we finished up meeting all the characters, and it looks like we're meeting him still, because I didn't finish that up. What is his name? Attending physician Nanzo. Yes, that's what it is. Some of their names, especially the servants, I forgot besides from Sanon and Cannon because the names sounded like. He had known Grandfather since the very beginning when the mansion was first constructed on this island and had built up a relationship over several decades. I thought at first that the two of them might have got to know each other through Grandfather's suspicious hobbies, but it seems he was actually Grandfather's chess partner. I see. That kind of hobby seems like our grandfather, well with his love of all things Western. Nanja's probably the only person who could enter Rokenzima despite being neither a family member nor a servant. He looks like a calm old gentleman as he listened to the discussion between Kiri and the other woman who sat near to him. Considering how long he stayed by the side of our short-tempered grandfather, his generous hoe is probably nothing to laugh at. Still, even if he was a family doctor, having anyone outside the Ushiromiya family attend the family conference was a little odd. It made me think that Grandfather's condition might have worsened so much it would be a major topic of discussion at today's conference. After all, Joe said something like that just a second ago. Something about how we've been getting continuous reports since around last year that Grandfather didn't have very long to live. It's nasty to think about it, but consider how rich Grandfather is. At the time of his death, his wealth will suddenly be released, probably along with a fair share of her parents' stomach acid. Wait, what? What? Stomach acid, in a way to increase for everyone. Okay, that's actually a better way to say it. After all, this sort of thing just gets messier when there's more wealth to be divided. I have a really, a huge theory that they're just gonna kill each other for the money. I mean, it only makes sense. There's a good chance they'll be talking about stuff like that at the family conference. Still, it's not like it's got anything to do with us kids. No, it has to do with Maria especially. Finally, even though he hasn't shown up, let me introduce her grandfather. We've already met him and obtained his character bio. The person who should be sitting in this incipient's chair is Ushiromiya Kinzo. It really sucks. Everyone else in the family has these weird names, but he's got the perfectly normal one himself. If only his name were written Kinzo, but he let us call him Goldsmith or something, I'd totally freak out. As you can probably guess by now, he's a frightening person with an extremely short temper. I'm one of his grandchildren, not his son, and I haven't seen him since elementary school. Thanks to that, I have no memory of being beaten myself, but our parents were apparently raised with an iron fist. That earlier conversation between my dad and Uncle Kraus about who should convince Grandfather to come down seems pretty darn funny once you know they're back. Wait, no, you weren't there for that. Oh, wait, that was before he was in the hallway. That was when Kinzo was losing his shit. You can't really tell Grandfather's story without covering the pivotal event back from the Showa era, 1926 to 1989. Okay, getting a little history lesson. Until the Meiji and Tatsuro eras, the Ushiromiya family was great and prosperous. They owned several spinning mills, making them rich enough to just double over laughing every day as the money kept rolling in. Incidentally, Grandfather was a member of a branch of family and had pretty much nothing to do with the main family. Not only that, he was all the way down the list of people who could inherit the headship, but he had hardly any contact with the glamorous main family. However, during the Great Kanto Pokemon, in 1923, the mansion owned by the Ushiromiya family in Odawa was flat. Foreshadowing? The spinning mills in Tokyo were all burned down in a huge fire, and the Ushiromiya family lost most of its wealth and family members in an instant. Damn. So once they started to figure out who the successor to the Ushiromiya family should be, they apparently found no one remaining except Kinzo and his branch family. In Kinzo's later reminiscence, he referred to this as good fortune so great that it overturned fate. With that, Grandfather's boring everyday life did a 180. He was entrusted with reviving the dying Ushiromiya family, which had lost nearly all of its wealth. However, just because he had been trusted with this task didn't mean he could accomplish it. Apparently those around him weren't really expecting much. However, this is when Grandfather began displaying his extraordinary talent and good luck. Grandfather used all of the family's remaining wealth, as well as everything from the hair on his head to his toenails, as collateral in order to borrow a massive amount of money. Once he built up a gigantic war chest, he immediately invested in businesses. It was like someone tumbling down a hill on a bike without any brakes, and then jumping onto a neighboring bike and then another one, just like some crazy street performance. I'll bet everyone thought Grandfather had no business ability whatsoever. However, after several miracles and turns of good luck, with coincidences piling up and every chance taken advantage of, he was suddenly in control of powerful connections with the occupying forces. At that time, MacArthur and GHQ were the ultimate authority in Japan. Grandfather, in a twinkle of an eye, began succeeding in business under the protection of the occupying forces, quickly becoming very rich. By this point, it's probably safe to say that information, not luck, saved the day. He must have made some sort of serious, deep connections with the occupying forces. Grandfather knew beforehand about emergency demands that would be made for the Korean War. No, it was more than that. He must have predicted those emergency demands in the very beginning when he started investing his money. The history books make it sound like all of Japan made a large profit off the emergency demands during the Korean War, but that isn't actually true. Only a very limited number of super rich played the money game and made an easy profit. Most of the citizens remained poor. In other words, Grandfather was a member of this extremely lucky group of winners. I'm pretty sure this all happened during the year 1950 or so. The Great Kanto earthquake happened, so that means Grandfather was able to revive the near-dead Ushiromiya family in about 20 years to a level even higher than it had been before. That's impressive. With that, you'd think he'd revive the main family in Odara. But for some reason, he went and did something as crazy as buying an entire small island in the Uzu archipelago. Buying an entire island is not something that you can ordinarily... No, sit Sherlock! However, Grandfather was clever. He contacted the GHQ and applied for the establishment of a marine resource base. He acquired this island as business property, then tossed the project aside and claimed... That is smart. Technically, I think... Yeah, no, that works. You could just be like, oh, I'm gonna make this project, and then just... People do that on Kickstarter all the time. After the war, there were prevention measures against food shortages, and having the censorship of the GHQ meant that nobody could oppose him. From what I've heard, the Tokyo metropolis of that day offered this land to him practically for free. Later, Tokyo made difficulties by telling Kinzo to return the land, but the pussy GHQ intervened. Anyway, it seems the under-the-table bribes did their work well. In the end, the city gave up in frustration. Grandfather, with considerable skill and good luck, managed to weather the stormy seas of that period, obtaining a vast fortune in his own island. And of course, it probably wasn't all luck. He was obsessed with all things Western, which helped him cultivate his English skills. Okay, then use English voice acting. He was able to use this to his advantage and sink his teeth into the GHQ. A mansion was built on the island soon after. This mansion, in fact, Grandfather, with his love of old Western style, made this once uninhabited island a canvas upon which he could realize his dreams to his heart's content. Oh, like Minecraft creative mode. He now had the Western mansion of his dreams, overflowing with emotion and atmosphere, in a beautiful garden featuring all sorts of roses. And he had a private beach where nobody other than himself would ever be permitted to leave a footprint. This would be a dream come true for any boy. After that, he made good use of his huge fortune, becoming a larger stockholder in the extremely stable iron and steel industry, and was able to live an easy and comfortable life just using the dividends. Well, he's just that incredible. This kind of person usually has the ability to foresee and predict the future, at least that's how they're portrayed after the fact. But Grandfather denies all of that, repeatedly saying that he was simply blessed with extraordinary luck. Anyway, even a lord like that can't help but grow increasingly eccentric when locked up alone on an island where all of his dreams are made real. Everyone knows that he has a Western obsession from the start, but none of our parents really know what bizarre black magic hobby began. Did his love of black magic begin way back when he became fascinated with everything Western? Or did his miraculous stretch of good luck while reviving his family cause him to feel a mysterious power in himself? Good questions. At some point, Grandfather began to make the research of black magic his life's work. He filled his study up with suspicious books, chemicals, and magical items as he became increasingly bizarre. From what I've heard, those around him warmly watched over him, figuring that someone who had achieved success in life had a right to do as he pleased, but there's no way that's true. They were probably just creeped out thinking that's disgusting, I don't want to get involved. Anyway, that agitated period was an age of big gambles with both opportunities and risks. Let's say Grandfather was born in this time period. He would have had no opportunities and would have probably had advanced like a chess piece from a mandatory education to a college at a leisurely pace, never becoming more than just an average salary man. If that happened, he'd probably have sat somewhere happily talking behind his boss's back. No, not in a fancy dining hall like this, more like at a table in some bar. Then again, I bet this family conference would be a whole lot more relaxing if that were the case. Oh my god, my throat hurts. A lot of reading. Okay, that's enough about the old geezer. Yeah, no. More importantly, let's talk about this incredible once. Okay, yeah, no, this is a better conversation topic. Oh wow, and for the first time in 10 minutes into this video, voice dialogue has been heard. Wow.
幸田さんは大したシェフだぜ。しかも魚は近海で取れたやつだろ。スーパーの刺身とはわけが違ったぜ。
This is refreshing.
おいおいよせよバトラー。育ちがバレちまうだろうが。
Everyone let out a big laugh. Damn it, you say that even though you love those cheap pubs.
僕も仕事の都合で珍しいところで食事をすることもあるけど、それらと比べてもこれはかなりのものだよ。合田さんは多分その道じゃ少しは知られた人だったんじゃないかな。
よくは知らねえんだけどよ。老舗ホテルでのれん分けだか派閥の分裂だかややこしいことがあってよ。そのトラブルで辞めざるを得なくなっちまったんだってさ。それでその時偶然おふくろが使用人の求人を出してたわけなんだよ。
As Goto removed the empty plates, he began to recount his own bumpy past without losing a smile.
世の中というのは難しいものです。しかし、そのおかげでこうして今日、後宮家で再び料理人として腕を振るう機会を賜ることができました。大勢の方の笑顔も嬉しいですが、お仕えすると決めた限られた方々にだけ喜んでいただくために繊細なお仕事ができるのもとてもこれもすべて機会をくださった奥様のおかげです。
Goto-san respectfully bowed his head towards Aunt Natsui.
応募のあった中で合田が一番腕が良かったから
Oh
で
yes,
す。
he's having headaches.
客観的判断に基づくもので市場はあり
This
ま
is
せん
what
ので
happens when you don't
感
play
謝
the
には及
game
びま
for
せん。
like almost 10 days. Well, no, it's over 10 days, definitely. Dang, why does Aunt Natsui always have to sound so indifferent? If only she spoke with a bit more kindness, and she might have left a different impression. Senin-san and Kumurasawa-san entered from the hallway with a serving cart.
失礼いたします。
それでは本日のデザートに移らせていただきます。
Goto-san and the others laid the beautifully adorned dessert out in front of all of us. I guess it's true when they say you have another stomach for dessert. I thought I'd already filled up on delicious food, but as soon as I laid eyes on the dessert, my stomach started yelling more. I don't know much about desserts, but this looked really good. A white pudding-like substance was garnished with 2 shades of red sauce. And elegant rose petals adorned the dish. Normally, during a high-class meal like this, you're supposed to wait for the chef to extol the virtues of this particular meal before eating. However, Maria was completely indifferent to strict rules like that, so she got excited by the beautiful and delicious-looking dessert supping in the foot. I can imagine her landing in it. Aunt Rosa scolded her, calling it bad manners, but George responded by saying, now it's okay.
こっちの酸っぱい。こっちの酸っぱい。
Maria exclaimed as she sampled the 2 colored sauces.
なんだと？当たりと外れがあるのかよ。よし、俺も味見をしてやるぜ。
Apparently one sauce was sweet and the other sour. Despite it being bad manners, I also stuck my little finger and licked it. Well, one of the sauces was sour enough to make you pucker up. If it were yellow, I'd have to suspect a lemon, but I couldn't guess what kind of sourness would be red. I decided to ask Shannon, who was putting away the serving cart behind us.
シャノンちゃん、この酸っぱいのは何のソースだい？
Oh, wait, she doesn't know.
あの
Shannon hesitated. Maybe her job was just to set the table, so she doesn't really know. Still, even considering that, she seemed pretty stressed. Maybe I shouldn't have asked. Or did they just use some ingredients that'd be better off not knowing about? Well, Aunt Natsui made a gesture that seemed like an indicated an opposing head at Kumosuara-chan, who was setting the table at the opposite seat, began to chuckle.
何の材料を使っていると思いますか？
Drugs.
驚きますよ。
全然わかんねえぜ。というか、熊沢のばあさんがそういう笑い方すると不気味でならねえぜ。で、何なんだよ、正体は。
内緒ですよ。お耳を拝借。
Kumasawa-san leaned across the other side of the table. I leaned forward myself once he asked. Their interest caught Jessica, George, and Nikki, and of course Maria also put their ears closer. Okay, so all the main cast is interested. Nani?
実はお魚のサバの絞り汁ですよ。
サバ
That's crazy, we all thought horrified. Only Maria accepted it, nodding sagely.
ほー、サバは酸っぱいよ。絞ったらこうなる。
When Maria started clamoring that mackerel was sour, the adults were unable to contain their laughter.
違うわよ。酸っぱいのはしめ鯖でしょ。
Okay, that is out of place dialogue. Whispered to Maria that mackerel is sour only when prepared as... I didn't know that! Now I totally remember. Kumasawa-san always seemed like this, wasn't she? I think I remember her tricking me too in all sorts of ways when I was young. The most lethal has gotta be that one. Those flimsy black things in Chinese dishes. They're Kurod's mushrooms. She told me that they were penguin meat, and I went all around school like a smartass telling everyone, didn't I?
熊沢のばあちゃん、相変わらずだな。マリアが信じちゃうだろ。
冗談ですよ。
Goda looked a little put off about his masterpiece being laughed at for such a bizarre reason, but after cleaning his store once again, he introduced the desserts to us.
それではデザートのご説明をさせていただきます。本日はご来賓の皆様が大層お気に入りでございましたバラの庭園にちなみまして、パンナコッタをローズガーデン風に仕上げてみました。散らしてございますバラの花びらは当家の庭園より先ほど採取してきたものでございます。ソースはストロベリーとローズヒップの2色の赤をご用意しまし
You
た。
picked the Gurdon, Maria.
ス
Is
ト
he
ロベ
gonna
リー
like
の甘
that?
みとローズヒップの酸味を交互にお楽しみになってください。なお花びらは観賞用となっておりますので、避けてからお召し上がりくださいませ。それではどうぞお楽しみください。
Whoa, man, I almost wanted to applaud before eating. Just like with medicine, reading the detailed description first seems to make it work a whole lot better. As Goda-san elaborated on the details of this dessert, it started to feel even more appetizing. Seriously, should you call him subtle or just talented? The dessert was probably planned from the beginning, but taking the hint when Ryo stopped in front of the rose garden earlier today, he displayed an incredible and timely awareness by just adding a few rose petals from the garden. This combination of sweet and sour was also exquisite. If it was just sweet, you'd just get used to it and bored halfway through. But if you reach the sour sauce at that point, you get a really vivid taste. And then, once you return to the sweet sauce, all of the sourness in your mouth will be replaced with an enjoyable sweetness. I'm sure everyone else felt the same way. Every time Goda-san passed by one of her seats, someone praised the taste in his presentation.
いかがですか、奥様。
相変わらず見事です。お客様をおもてなしするに値します。
Wow, what a bitch thing to
恐れ
say.
入ります。奥様、ご存知ですか？
Wait, wait, the thing is, it wasn't what she said that's bad. It's the fact that she said it's worthy enough to entertain the guests in her face.
ローズヒップには頭痛に効く効果もあるそうですよ。奥様に特にお気に入りいただけるかと思い、特別にご用意させていただきました。
そう。ありがとう。ほら言ったでしょ。
I don't know, I
達
just
姫
don't
さん
get a friendly vibe from her.
ローズヒップは頭痛に効くって。みたいね。効くといいんだけど。
合田さん、あんたには惚れるでなあ。後であんたの待遇を聞かせてや。無理ならあんたの欲しい年収指立ててくれるだけでもいいやで。あんたの腕がこの島だけで独占されとるのは人類の食文化に対する冒涜や。その腕わしの会社で振るってお客の皆さんを喜ばせてみる気はないかのう。
秀吉さん、うちの合田を引き抜かれるのですか？これは困った。 ゴーダの待遇をもっと良くしないと引き抜かれてしまいそうだ。
そうした方がいいわね。じゃないと引き抜か
I
れて
agree, dude. That was all
3
the other
食な熊
servants.
沢さんのサバ料理にされちゃうわよ。
ほほほほほ。これは手厳しゅうございます。すっかり根に持たれてしまいまして。
Everyone let out a huge laugh. According to Jessica, Kumasawa-san's macro jokes were a running gag that her parents had long since gotten used to. Kumawasa-san often claimed that macros had precious nutritional value, which could slow aging, making people smarter and more. Supposedly, well, while it couldn't stop the outward signs of aging, it helped prevent aging on the inside. Since he was still spirited enough to tell these kind of jokes at her age, there must be something to that theory.
それでは失礼いたします。夕食にはふるってたくさんのサバ料理をお召し上がりいただきますので、どうぞご
期待してるよ。今晩はしめサバでキュッとしゃれ込みたいぜ。
Okay, wow, that's the first nice thing you said this entire, like,
それ
playthrough.
は素敵ね。ついでに日本酒の美味しいのも出てこないかしら。
ございますよ。
Wait, Japanese steak? Don't they mean steak?
六軒
Whatever.
島名物の
I don't know, I
サバ
thought that was a little
焼酎なるものがございまして。
Okay, it's not that funny to get that laugh. Like, they're funny, but, like, they're forcing it. Kumaza-san, together with San, bowed and pushed the serving cart away. And just like that, Thanos snapped them out of existence. It was pretty funny to watch Goda-san, who looked like his soul had totally been stolen, explaining in a serious voice that we would be having a calf steak for dinner. Yeah, it should have said steak.
熊沢さん、さっきはありがとうございました。
As he pushed the serving cart, Sanin bowed her head very deeply.
なんもお礼を言われることなんてありません。
Kuma's-san may have played dumb, but he had obviously understood and saved Sanin in the nick of time. But when Badawa had asked about dessert, Sanin had unfortunately hesitated. There may have been several ways to dodge the question, but all of them would have required some quick wits. Sanin, who hesitated with hard-pressed for a response, was always suffering because of this small weakness. If only Sanin had a little of the craftiness needed to cleverly shake off a mistake like Goda, her life would have been a bit easier. The fact that she could perform other tasks flawlessly made this weakness even more unfortunate. However, there were some who understood Sanin's honest nature, her inability to gloss over a mistake and draw attention away from it. That's why Kumurasa had smoothly come to her rescue.
さっき源次さんが午後のシフトに変更があるとおっしゃってましたよ。確かシャノンさんは夕方までお休みがもらえたと思いました。羨ましい。
すみません。シフト表を確認していませんでした。
そうそう。オーブンでこれからちょっとサバを焼こうと思ってるんですよ。できたらお休みの前にちょっと手伝ってくれると嬉しいですね。
はい。喜んでお手伝いさせていただきます。
To Sanin, Kumurasa was like a mother among the servants. Okay, now we're somewhere else. The dining hall needed to be cleaned up, so we were chased out. Instead, tea was being served in the parlor. Apparently, they prepared the black tea that Aunt Rosa had brought for Aunt Natsuri. Maria said she also wanted to have some black tea, but my old bastard said she couldn't and told us children to go play outside.
バトラ君、みんなで表に散歩に行かないかい？
As soon, buena idea.
バラでも見に行ったらええ。でも天気には十分注意するんやで。空はまだ明るいが、天気予報はふるふると繰り返しちょる。
マリアは海がいい。
あら素敵じゃない。砂浜で遊ぶなんて普段はなかなかできないものね。
そっか。よし、じゃあみんなで浜辺でも行こうぜ。
行こう。
マリア、服 服を濡らさないようにするのよ。靴もよ。
濡らさ
素直で可愛い。バトラ君、マリアちゃんの面倒ちゃんと見てあげてね。
Okay, they're separating the cast. I know what this means.
お前もキリエに頼まれると
I'm
素直で
surprised
可
that
愛いじゃ
we
ねえか。
haven't gotten to like any murder yet
たまには
because
俺の言う
they
こと
keep
も素
separating
直
the
に聞い
cousins
て
from
みろよ。
everybody else. So my theory is that someone in the adults is gonna die first, either that or the cousins, because they're separating them.
ほらほら
And like the last thing you ever want to do in a horror situation is split. They were replaced by Gainsey, who pushed the serving curtain, prepared to serve the tea. The pearl was filled with sublime aroma which delighted everyone while they waited to sate their thirst.
ルドルフのところは家族仲がいいじゃないか。良いことだ。
But no, then you're
よせよ。
mistaken.
兄貴のところには負けるぜ。
Yeah.
そうよ。
No, that's for you. Like
これも
Eva,
夏姫
Hideyoshi,
さん
and
の
George
教
actually
育
seem
の
all
賜
happy.
物。
Jessica doesn't like her parents. I think. Isn't that what it said in the character bio? Am I like imagining things? Hold up. What? No, it froze. My screen is frozen. Okay. In the absence of irregularities, they thought to see event. So yeah. No, it doesn't say that. I swear that like, she was talking bad about I think her father. Either that or it was Kenzo.
どうも。
Natsui answered coldly. The conversation broke off then and the poet fell silent. Maybe Hideyoshi couldn't bear the silence because he broke it with himself with an exaggerated gesture.
しかし成長は早いもんやで。いつまでも子供だと思っとったが、図体はみるみるでかくなり、いつの間にか大人の仲間入りや。バトラ君なんか見違えたで。
体は大きくなりましたけど、まだ子供です。うちの主人も未だに子供ですけれど。子供と大人の境ってどこなのかしらね。私、未だに大人になったって自覚が持てない。
Yeah, no, I'm getting interesting vibes from Rosa.
情けないじゃないか。一時の母の言うことではない。
I can't tell if I like her or not. Like, she's too her son Maria, but like I get like a good vibe from her.
私たちももう子供じゃない。
I don't get a good vibe from either of Jessica's parents.
大人同士よ。だから感情的にならず。
Okay, so I've already have a suspect list yet no one has died yet. Wow. I'm really good at this. Wait, what? When Eva smiled with her sharp sarcasm, everyone seemed to get more tense. It felt as though the pleasant tea aroma had been tossed out the window.
知的な会話なら昔からいつも心がけているじゃないか。お前の嫌味は時に的を外している。昔から変わらない。
Oh.
昔からいつも。
Oh, drama.
あら
Drama.
その言葉をきれい
Oh my god, get
に
the
放送
popcorn.
して。何
Get the
十年か
popcorn.
前ねえ、ローザ。
Rosa gave a vague smile. She knew that whether she agreed or disagreed, she'd earned the displeasure of one of her siblings. It was a bit of worldly wisdom that had been essential for someone growing up as the youngest sibling.
よせよ姉貴。ガキどもがいない間に本題に入ろうじゃねえか。それこそ知的な話よ。
As Rudolf glanced over the faces of all present, some let out a slight sigh and some let out a small look of resignation across their face. They were approaching their unavoidable, true agenda.
去年の時点で余命3ヶ月だったんだ。ってことは、すでにマイナス9ヶ月ってことじゃねえか。
-9 wall.
いつお迎えが慌ててすっ飛んでくるかもわからねえ状態ってことだぜ。
当主様は今でも健在でおられます。このような不穏当な話を日も明るいうちからなさろうとするなど、ルドルフさんの正気を疑わざるを得ません。
Is one of them plotting something for money?
こういうしょっぱい話はいざことがあってからじゃ遅いんや。今が元気だからこそ余裕あるうちにしとくもんなんやで。これも財産のエチケットみたいなもんや。
諸君の関心は親父殿のようじゃないか。南條先生。 あなたから説明してくださいませんか。彼らもそれをお望みらしい。
Nanja, who had been standing by the window and staring out the rose garden, let out a single cough when he realized that he was being called.
南條先生、お父様の具合はどんな感じなんですか？
まずはじめに、私が去年申し上げました余命3ヶ月という言葉が一人歩きをしているようですので、その
言われずともわかるわ。余命というのはあくまでも見込みであって約束ではないとおっしゃられるのよね。
さようです。ですから皆さんからたびたびお尋ねを受けますが、いつ亡くなるのかということは決して断言できないことなのです。人の命は体と心に支えられております。体が弱れば危うくもなりますが、それを補う心の強さがあれば小康状態を維持することもあるのです。
体はともかくお心はまだしっかりしていて意気健康でいらっしゃれるということですね。
キリエ、すまんがしばらく黙っててくれ。
ごめんなさい。
さようです。金蔵さんの体はすっかり病魔に蝕まれております。ましてやあのような強いお酒をたしなまれ続けてはとてもとても。
崖っぷちなのも酒のせい、流らえてるのも酒のせいか。酒豪の親父らしいね。
それで先生、もちろん見込みで結構なんですけども、お父様来年の今日まではさすがにどうかしら。当主様に対してあ
That's
ま
a
りに無
very
礼な
rude
質問です。
question to ask. Natsui jumped on Eva. Okay, suddenly my opinion has swapped and I'm agreeing with Natsui. Eva stared back daringly, but Hideyoshi realized what was going on and tried to smooth things over with a forced smile.
ああ、夏井さん、カニーナ、エヴァ、お前も少し言葉を選ばんか。
ごめんなさい。お父様の容体が気になって仕方なかったもの。
She's after
そ
that
うです
money.
か。それは気づきませんでした。
南條先生、聞かせてやって。父親の寿命を気遣う娘の麗しい家族愛じゃないですか。
I find it so interesting how they wait until everyone's out of the room. Hold up. Prediction time. I really feel like that if like people die first, it's going to be in the adult group, because the way that they like keep taking them out of the room, it's so that like when we get Battler's perspective later, he won't be able to solve it because he doesn't know any of this. Kraus laughed sarcastically and Eva, smiling sweetly, returned an identical chuckle.
来年までお元気かという質問ですが、医者の私としてはとても難しい。この小康状態がまだしばらくは続くようにも思いますし、何らかの発作が来ればその時にはどうしようもないかもしれません。何しろ六軒島は孤島です。すぐに救急車が飛んでこれるわけではありません。本来ならば本土のしかるべき大病院に入院していただきたいところなのですが。
親父殿は高尚な研究を中断されたくないと仰せだ。去年無理に連れ出そうとしたのがあだになったらしい。
Okay, I'm also kind of a little suspicious of Kraus right now, because we don't know much about him. He was the last person introduced, and like, he didn't really get a proper introduction.
外へ出れば病院に閉じ込められてしまうのではないかとひどくお疑いになられていて。
Same with Natsui, but like at least we got like character bio introduction, I think.
南條先生の診察は受けておられるの？
親父殿は南條先生には心を許しておられる。機嫌が良ければ診察も受けられるようだがね。
容体を見はするが、薬を勧めようとも入院を勧めようとも聞き入れてくれん。本当に見るだけですがな。
お医者嫌いの方もおるもんや。しかし困ったもんだのう。
Nanjo sighed deeply. The purpose of an examination is to determine what medical treatment would be appropriate. Receiving an examination and then not following the advice given makes the whole thing pointless.
つまりおさらいすると
Okay, what's the sum up gonna be?
相変わらず余命は3ヶ月
Oh.
禁止のままあとどれだけ長らえるか見当もつかねえってことだ
ルドルフさん言葉を少し慎まれてはいかがですか
Surely Kinzo's gonna be the first death because someone's after the money.
昔からこういう口の聞き方なんだ勘弁してくれ
南條先生のご意見は分かりましたクラウス兄さんから見て
My predictions change every 5 seconds based on what they say, so I'm just gonna shut up and listen, I guess.
実を言うと南條先生とは異なる意見でねとても余命3ヶ月の重病人とは思えないというのが本心だ怒鳴り声は相変わらず健在でいつぶん殴られるかとヒヤヒヤしっぱなしだよ長男にだけ親父の世話を押し付けるのは実にフェアではないね
来世では俺より後に生まれろよさて話を戻そうぜそんなわけで公正中立なお医者の先生の見解じゃいつお隠れになっちまってもおかしくない状態だ兄貴には悪いがここは専門家の意見を採用させてもらうぜとなりゃ決して親父の財産を話し合うことは時期尚早ではないってことさ
お父様の個人資産はおそらく数百億にも届くでしょうねでもそれは綺麗な現金で揃ってるわけじゃないわ
How much is that in USD? Hold up, I'm doing the calculation. Stopping visual novel, 10 billion yen to USD. That's $8 million. Damn.
お誕生会のケーキみたいに綺麗にナイフが入ってカットできるほど単純じゃないでしょ
So that's even more.
姉貴の例えは面白いなそうさケーキの上にはイチゴやらチョコの家やらが乗ってて綺麗に等分するのが難しいことだってあるだろうそれを加味してどういう風にナイフを入れるのか先に相談しておくのは大切なことだと思うぜ
それを当主様が存命のうちからさも他界なされたかのように声高に議論される皆さんの気が知れません
あら必要な話よだって遺産相続はその時点で直ちに行われなきゃならないものよましてや栄光ある後宮家の財産は莫大事前に入念な相談が必要なことはお分かりでしょうが当家の資産はあなたのご実家とは大違いなんだから
失礼な私の実家は関係ありません
Natsu responded indignantly, though in her low voice, and the already dark atmosphere grew even more hostile.
予算買えば夏日さん堪忍な口が悪いのは許したってな
Hideyoshi tried to smooth things over by glancing at both of the for a smile, but it only resulted in making the hostility between Eva and Natsu even more intense.
これ以上はお邪魔なようですな失礼させていただきましょう
And Thanos snapped him out of existence. Ninja rose from his seat and exited the parlor. To an outsider, it may have seemed like a normal act of courtesy, but his back was watched by several glances envious of his ability to escape. After the doctor had exited and his footsteps had disappeared into the distance, Kraus recrossed his legs.
つまりお前たちの言い分はこうかね親父殿の余命は短い遺産分配について早急かつ具体的な協議に入りたい何を焦っているのかね確かにお前たちの言う通り後宮家の財産を算定し分配するのは簡単なことではないだろうなればじっくりと算定すべきじゃないのかねお前たちは今晩のうちにもケーキを切り分けたいと焦っているように見えるそうだろうローザ何を焦ることがあるのかね
焦ってるわけじゃないでも兄弟の間での取り決めは必要それはいつでもいいことだけれども お父様の具合が悪くなっていて、その日が近づいているというなら、先に話だけしておいても、それは請求とは言わないと思うし。
Rosa shot a glance at Eva and Rudolf. As the youngest sibling in the family, it was hard for her to be cross-examined by the eldest.
ほう、それはお前の本心かね。兄弟で一番素直で綺麗な心を持っていたお前がそんなことを言い出すとは思えんね。そこの二人に吹き込まれたんじゃないのかね。
よせよ兄貴、ローザだって兄
Oh my
弟
god,
だ
his
ぜ。
front-facing sprite is
親父の遺
crazy.
産に公平な権利がある。関心を持つのは当然じゃねえか。
Okay, literally, can't they just split it down the middle? Like,
それは遠い未来の
there's 4
話でもない。
siblings. Split it between
む
the
しろ
4
兄貴は
families.
悠長すぎるく
Like,
らいさ。
wait, hold the fuck up. No, no, like, literally, just give money this way, give another fourth this way, another fourth that way, and another fourth this way. Like, I get that they keep asking, like, they keep wanting more, but you just won't get any.
まるで遺産分配から
Like, all they have to
話
do
を
is
そ
make
ら
it
したくて
equal
仕方がないように
divide.
見えるぜ。
それはどういう意味ですか？主人にやましいところがあるとおっしゃいたいのですか？
まあ夏日さん、話は聞いておくなあれ。
兄さん、今は大変強気だそうじゃない？そうよね。去年以降、空前の好景気で円は
Spoiler
上がる
alert,
一
it'll keep
方、
happening here in the United States too.
ドルが100円に至るのだって夢物語じゃなさそうよ。それに、与党は来年頃に保養地整備法を成立させようって今や日本中のリゾート開発会社がどれだけ軍資金を集められるかって奔走してるところよ。
詳しいじゃないか。これから日本には空前の好景気が訪れる。親父殿が後宮家を再興した時と同じくらいの大規模な需要拡大の
The
時
thing
代だ
about them
ね。
all is that they're all wealthy too. Like,
日
all
本
they have
国
to
民は死に物
do
狂い
is
で
just split
働
it.
き、
Like, why are they
高度
arguing
経済
so
成
much
長を
over
実現
this?
して世界で一
They
番
all
豊
want
かな
more for
国民となり、
themselves.
国民の消費は増大し、それを回収できる施設やあぶく銭を手にする時代になった
I
の
don't
だ
know if I'm looking at this story through the right eyes.
今や国民のニーズは3種の電化製品ではない。スキ
I
ー
guess
場
I'm more
ゴ
relate
ル
to
フ場
the
総
cousins.
合
Just
プー
like,
ル
hey, family get together, yay. Then these people just like, give me your money.
リゾートホテルにテーマパーク。数年前に開
That's
業
probably
し
due
た
to my
デル
age.
ゼニーランドには行ったかね。
Disneyland.
素晴らしい遊園地じゃないか。
Disneyland.
あそこでは大人も童心に帰り家族で楽しむことができる。
Disneyland. Hold up, that is a new one.
かつて家族を顧みずにメッシ奉公することだけが美徳だった時代はもはや終わろうとしている。我々は世界で一番豊かな国民としてようやくそれを享受できるようになったのだ。
Yes, but first, before we solve this issue, we must go to Disneyland.
クラウス兄さんの読みは大したもんや。わしも数年前に聞いた時はそんなアホなと思ったわ。でもな、G5 のプラザ合意聞いてから変わったんや。円はみるみる強くなり、地価はこれから天井知らずに上がるやろ。
Yeah,
日本
Disneyland
は世
must be
界経済の
expensive.
中心になる日も遠くはない。兄さんは時代を見る目のあるお人や。それだけは間違いないで。
秀吉兄さんに同じだ。兄貴は10年越しで時代を読めてるよ。その嗅覚は親父譲りだろうな。大したもんだぜ。だが親父と違ってちょいと見通しのタイミングを読み違っちまったところはあるよね。
兄さんは必ず日本が好景気を迎えると信じてあちこちにリゾート計画を起こし、その兄さんの読み通りの時代は確かに訪れつつあるけど、その時期を読むことには失敗
Okay,
した
then
わ
one of
ね
you be good at timing. Like, I seriously feel like they could just
早
work
すぎ
together,
たのよ。
but they're so divided.
そして焦って生産して結局は傷口を広げたわ。本当に嗅覚が当てになって好景気が訪れることを読めていたなら生産するわけない。これって兄さんが自分で自分の才能を信じてない証拠じゃないの？
失礼な。主人を侮辱するつもりですか？
Natsui's forehead creased as he rose from the sofa. Eva, paying this no heed, stared at Kraus with a confident smile. Kraus, who had maintained his confident appearance, told Natsui to sit down.
よさないか夏日。昔からこういう言い方しかできないやつだ。少し落ち着きなさい。また頭痛に触る。
兄さんに才能がない証拠は私たちのすぐ近くにもあるわよ。だって兄さん、この島をリゾート化するって張り切ってたじゃない。素敵なリゾートホテルも建てて、庭園もきれいに整備して。私は素人だから分かりかねるけど、相当のお金を使ったんでしょう。
だから何だというのですか？主人の事業はあなたとは関係ありません。
いや、そいつは違うぜ。六軒島は兄貴のものじゃない。親父のものだ。もちろん建てたホテルは兄貴のものだぜ。なんなら、俺たちは今夜の宿泊料を払ってやってもいいさ。
Okay, why has Rudolf become the sensible one?
それはまあ持ち合わせで足りるなら。
リゾート化できればこの島の資産価値は上がる。支出がかさんだことは事実だが、未来に大きな収穫を期待できる。そうなれば結果的にお前たちにとっても有益なはずじゃないか。
それはわかるわよ。この島の価値が上がれば、それを遺産分配する時の私たちの取り分も増えるもの。もちろん島や屋敷を4分の1ずつ切り取れとは言わないわ。それを算定したお金で解決してくれればいいだけの話よ。
そこまで分かっているなら、私の事業に何の不満があるんだね。
不満じゃねえさ。第一兄貴、あのホテルいつになったら開業するんだ？
Wait, is he not even opened it yet?
このままじゃ
I'm trying to follow this dialogue.
だらけになっちまうぜ。
そうよ、大切な商売道具でしょ。確かに開業するまでずっと鍵をかけておくわけにもいかない。少しは使って風通しを良くしないと建物は傷んじゃうもの。でも私たちが年に一度泊まるだけのゲストハウスって言うんじゃ、ねえローザ。
Stop asking Rosa for her
あんなに
opinion.
素敵なら
She's trying to
オ
stay
ー
out
プン
of
したら
this.
さぞや人気が出るでしょうね。
I feel like everyone's just like, I feel it's the they're all Ushiromiya, so I can't use last names, but I feel like it's this branch versus this branch, with this branch being the neutral party and this also being neutral. So like we have our neutrals, the war, the guy who said screw this, I'm out, and the people not involved. Speaking of that, I haven't seen Genji or Canon in a while, so I wonder if they're doing something story-wise is gonna happen soon. We haven't seen Kinzo yet. He has not come down, so I wonder if he's not going to for this chapter. Wouldn't surprise me.
ああ、あなたが前に言ってたホテルってゲストハウスのことだったのね。
English word
立派なもんだろ。
just in the dialogue.
ローザの言う通り、オープンできたら人気が出るだろうよ。
Well, I mean, they can't really use this island. It's a private island. The lodging, as they've been guided to, wasn't originally intended to serve as a guest house. It was originally constructed as a resort hotel. However, even though it was built 2 years previously, there was still absolutely no prospect of it opening.
兄さんのいつもの事業と同じよ。着目や企画はご立派。そしていつも途中で立ち行かなくなって何も回収できずに終わる。
この島をただ住むだけにしか使わないのはもったいないって兄貴の着眼は立派さ。そしてリゾート化してマリンスポーツやらフィッシングやらハネムーンやらを誘致して盛り上げようってのはなかなかいい絵だったと思うぜ。俺だって長男だったならこの島を何かに有効利用できないかと頭をひねったに違いないさ。
でももう出来上がってから2年も経つのよ。2年経って未だに開業のめどはつかないの？任せてる管理会社はどこ？
失敬な。それは主人の手落ちではありません。主人の仕事を請け負う会社間でトラブルが生じているだけで、うちはあくまでも被害者です。
Maybe she already has.
しかしな、クラウス兄さんが任せてる例のとこ、あまり噂は聞かんで。
はっきり言ってあげなさいよ。不払い横領トラブルで計画が空中分解しちゃったって
Okay, hold up.
話。
So Sid is hitting the fan
届
about
かないとでも思ってる？
like Natsui and Kraus.
裏も取れてるんだから。
Now everyone's kind of ganging up on them. Before everyone was being like neutral parties,
事
but
実
now
無
like
根です。
everyone's after them.
観光業への新規参入には方々への根回しが必要になります。相手が信用に足りるかを測ることも大事です。それに手間取っているだけに過ぎません。
ホテルの完成が早すぎて勇み足になったことは認めよう。だが維持費がかかってるわけじゃない。やがて大きな意味を持つ布石だ。
嘘つけよ。生産したくても売れないだけだろ。観光ルートの確立してない何もない離島にやたら豪華なホテルなんて。それに事業に集めた融資はどうなってんだよ。
維持費はかからんでも回線借金は膨らむ一方や。すまんがクラウス兄さん、この島の開発計画の話、ちょい正直こっちもええ話は
Okay,
聞かへんのや。
what are they doing investigating each other's plans? Like, they have no trust in each other.
秀
They're
吉
just
さん、確か
looking
に今の
for
財政状
their
況だけを見
errors.
たらそういう印象を持たれるかもしれない。だがこれは先行投資なのだよ。その読みを誤り、これまでに多くの負債を生んでしまったことは認めざるを得ない。だがようやく時代が私に追いついた。これまでに失った分はすぐに取り戻せる。いや、それどころかこれまでの投資だってやがては私のもとに戻ってくる。そう例えるなら、放った稚魚が鮭となり肥えて帰ってくるようにね。
それは認めるで。これからリゾート業界は空前の好景気を迎えるやろ。これまでの負債を埋められるほどかはわからんが。だがな、クラウス兄さん、これまで散々負け続けた兄さんがどこから軍資金を調達したっていうんや。それも半端ない軍資金や。あれだけの穴を埋められる軍資金やで。
秀吉さんは何をおっしゃいたいのですか？
ああ、夏樹さん、ほんま怒らんといてえな。わしらも調べたんや。これまで負け戦
Oh my
続
god,
きの
they're
クラウス
talking in
兄さんに
circles. This
最
is
近
getting
の
them
強気な
nowhere.
莫
They
大
keep
投資
saying
を
that
支
they've
えら
looked
れる
into
ほど
it
の
like
融資
for
を
like 5
誰が
times.
できたんか調べたんや。
結果いねえんだよ。弱り目と逆に張るのがマネールーレットの鉄則だ。兄貴はこの界隈じゃちょいと知られた弱り目さ。確かに時代は好景気を迎えようとしているが、これまでの兄貴の失敗等を天秤にかけて、その上で融資に値すると思う連中がいるのかって言ったら誰もいなかったのさ。
ならね。
Okay, you know what? I'm gonna stop here for today. Things are getting heated, and in the next episode, we shall continue. Hopefully, I can film that sooner rather than later. Yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, please make sure to like, subscribe. That's great. Appreciate it. And yeah, see you guys in the next one. Bye.